The next thing we need to talk about is running the app. Now, as you can see here, we have up at the top, we have our 1 hour SpriteKit. And remember, that's our name. Now, you could call your name, Super Retro Version or whatever. But in this case, the name of our game here is 1 hour SpriteKit OSX. Okay. And what we're also going to see here is we have the My Mac here. Now, one of the best parts about working with OSX is that it's actually, you don't have to deal with a bunch of screen sizes like you have to do with iOS. Right? But if you go ahead and push play, you can see that it builds it, and once it completes that, it will run your game. Now, you have this wonderful little hello world. You at the bottom here have this FPS, which we'll talk about in a second. And if you click, well, these fancy little planes come up and they rotate. Pretty neat stuff. I'll just kind of add this in here. You can click and click as many as you want. All right? And you'll notice that there are FPS down here. FPS is frames per second, okay? And you've probably heard about that in game forums or your friends talking about it. And what that means is that the more frames per second, the better. So if you've taken the iOS version of this course, you'll notice that adding this many planes really starts to lag, okay? So you can see here that I've added 86 nodes, and I have a pretty good MacBook Pro, but even then this is starting to lag it a bit. And if this was on an iPhone or something like that, it would really start to lag. So let's see how many of these we can add in here to make it lag. Now, I am also actually adding in a point here, and that point is actually very simple. The more sprites you have on the screen, the more memory and it will take up, and that will cause your game to lag. So there is a limit to how much objects you can have on in your game, and it doesn't matter whether you're making a game in your bedroom or you're making a AAA game with millions of dollars with funding. You're still plagued by this problem here. Okay, so there we go. I'm just going to keep adding this in here, and you can see that the FPS has dropped quite considerably. Just like that. It's now at 35, and it was at 60, and you can kind of see it's lagging there too. But you can go ahead and stop that and then run it again, and you can add in as many planes as you want there. All right, so this is something that you need to know how to do. Now, the other thing is, why would you want to test your game before it's actually out? Well, you want to test your game because you want to find errors early, and sometimes you might code something and you test it out and it doesn't exactly work the way you want it to, or it works better than the way you want it to. Something serendipitously is better. Now, that's something that you definitely want to do, and this is called testing early and often, and I can highly recommend that you do this. I was making an Xbox game, 2009, 2010, and I didn't test my whole game and deploy it to the Xbox for a whole week, and I wasted a bunch of time fixing the errors in that. And I learned the hard way that if you want to make sure that your game gets released, you want to test early and often. You don't want to be going down the wrong road, and you have to work with your time to undo that. Now, it's important that if chances are, if you're listening to this, you want to make a game in your bedroom or your garage or your basement, and time is really something precious and valuable, and you don't want to waste it. So testing early and often is a good way to do that. Okay. In the next tutorial, we'll talk a little bit more about what this code does. This includes a tutorial.